I wanted to make sure that the materials, the palette, the character of the house was responsive to the site. It's not often that you're building on top of a 40-foot tall stone wall. Hi, I'm Stephen Harris. I am the architect of the Bedford Quarry House. It is within an hour of New York, but it feels like you could be in Montana. This was a functioning quarry, feldspar, rose quartz, things of that sort. The reason the quarry was abandoned was because they hit water. Many architects prefer working on nice, flat, buildable sites. I'm much more interested in difficult sites. I looked at it as this extraordinary geological opportunity and the fact that it had so much water in it and the vegetation and the trees were so beautiful. When the owners found the site, there was a house on it. It was a very different house, and to be charitable, it had had a bit of deferred maintenance. We started over. We worked very hard to figure out how the owner actually lives. It's a young family, and you're figuring out the site, where the light is, where the wind is, how things operate over the course of the day. Almost 50 years ago, the man in the class ahead of mine at Princeton had written a thesis called Psychoanalysis and the Place of Arrival. Was that the process of moving from one condition to another, one can parse and divide into stages, what he referred to as a liminal condition. That was one of the ambitions for this house. Taking from the approach, you see a glimpse of where you're going to go and a piece of the house, a kind of tease, if you will. Then you lose sight of it. The road bends around, it comes up, it rises, you come back around to the back side of the house, and you're in a courtyard. Then there is a stair that takes you down to the main level. Then as you come out onto the terrace, as you approach that edge, you can see the water. It is the space between things. As you approach the house, the one opening in these two walls is where they intersect. That brick wall, conceptually and literally, slides through the building. If you look carefully, you'll see the garage. That's the top of the garage door. It's a single pane garage door based on an airplane hangar. As you can see on both sides, it's glass all the way through here. This is conceptually a void. The stair needed to be figurative. It needed to be something which did not conform to either geometry. As you come down, you begin for the first time to see the other side of the quarry. Terraces out here, all of that. So you have a sense that this is where the main public floor is. In here then is the room where I think they spend the vast majority of their time. Like many younger families, it's got a great kitchen, it's got a dining area, and it has a sitting area. One of two ways in which one talks about building on a sloping site. The two ways you do it are the cave and the promontory. So as we move from one condition to the other, this end of the room is actually cozy, intimate, and then as you move farther in, it begins to reveal itself. You see that promontory up there, you see the little pathway that goes down to the dock, and this is the corner that is cantilevered over the edge. So finally, at this point, you've got the waterfall, you've got the quarry, you've got that incredibly beautiful sheer face, almost like the Palisades on the other side. So in some ways, it's a calibrated sequence of reveal and of arrival. I think it's very important that architecture induce movement? When every single room has the same view, there's really no reason to move. The interiors are relatively muted, and there's subtle little tropes. Like if you look at the lines in those rocks, and you look at the little lines in this rug, there's this kind of reference that occurs there. Obviously, this stone and that wall bear some formal relationship. There's also a little tiny balcony up here off of this side. So if you have some friend who smokes cigars, you know, it's a place where you can stash him. Another thing that we've increasingly done is when you have an open kitchen where everyone is hanging out, I think it's important to have a back kitchen, a part of the kitchen that is out of sight. So looking over that way, you'll see that there is a second sink, a lot of storage. There are dishwashers back there, so you could have a nice meal, all of that, and then put all the aftermath over there and deal with it tomorrow. This can be divided off. You can close off this room more for acoustical reasons than for privacy. This is then the media room, AKA the polka dot room. It also happens to have a model of the house. We are right about here now. So you can see from this that the house is actually two boxes. It's this box, which was the garage that had the garage door that's shut. This is the slot that goes through that we came in on. This is then the two-story piece. You can see the topography here and how dramatic this thing drops away. Goes back to Livy. If you read Livy about where the bedrooms go and where the public rooms go at a palazzo, there's a whole passage about how the ground floor is about fortification. The main floor, the piano nobile, where all the public rooms are, the bedrooms are above that. I think subliminally, it has to do with protection. This is in the primary bedroom, which has a not bad view. The waterfall, the quarry, the far side. One of the things we sometimes don't take enough thought to is the kind of rituals of getting up in the morning, getting dressed, going to bed at night, packing a suitcase, all of that. A place to toss your clothes in the evening or to lay out what you're going to wear. This is the primary bathroom, which has two little chapels off of it, one of which is the loo, the other of which is the shower. I hate brushing my teeth and looking at myself in the mirror. And I'd much rather stand here and look at that waterfall as I brush my teeth than stare at myself. Two closets. I bet you that one's his. This is above the fireplace that's in the living room, coming directly up. This is also a sedum roof. It's just coming back from the winter. I think there's something magical about the sound of that waterfall. It eliminates every piece of stray sound you can hear. This is the one place where you could look down into that little courtyard. That's the beginning of a trail that goes around all of the water, comes back the other side, has steps down to the water, the dock, the boat, all of that. As you may know, a lot of ponds have little fountains in them and things like that. That's to aerate the water and to prevent algae growth and things of that sort. In this case, we figured out another way of doing it, or David Kelly did, which was to just pump a little piece of the water up to the top and let it come and fall down as a waterfall. It has the other great advantage of giving a kind of tranquility throughout here. We worked from the beginning on this project with David Kelly, who is a landscape architect and a partner in Reese Robertson Partners. And working closely with him, there was an idea about vegetation that might initially appear wild. It is something whose color and its texture, it could have been dug out of the quarry and ground into gravel. So it has that kind of local character to it. This is the continuation of that brick wall that was outside. We chose a brick that was slightly irregular. It's not perfectly flat, and it gives a texture to this wall. There's a skylight that runs the entire length of this brick wall. The children's rooms have window seats. These trees are set here to give a little bit of privacy to these rooms. That's Reese Roberts. They designed these rooms, the furniture, the cool light fixtures. When you're here, there's a sense of stability. You don't feel like you're on top of a mountain or something. There are other things that are about the same height that you are. By stepping this terrace out to follow the profile of the quarry, we were able to lounge here and look at all of that. The dining area over here is probably the one that's the most exposed. I mean, it's the only place that's farther out than that. But, you know, from here, you can actually see the water, the dock, everything. I also think it's nice to look at the house from here. So it's a nice view of the house, I think. A little biased, probably. What we were trying to do was eliminate the boundary between the inside and the outside. We didn't need the window to provide a foreground. We worked very hard for the spaces outside of that, the landscape, to provide that foreground. The idea is that perhaps there are no walls. Perhaps you're outside all the time. One of the things about our choice to locate the pool over there is because we're trying to distribute the amenities and destinations throughout the site. So this is a very different idea about landscape. It may have something to do with a rock in a pool outside of Rio by Niemeyer. When you're looking at all of those things, the quarry, the promontory, all of that, it's difficult to appreciate how beautiful just being in a woodland is and how magical that is. If there were two adjectives for a project that are my greatest ambition, it's for a project to appear effortless and inevitable. If someone comes over to the house, I would prefer that they not be wowed. I would prefer that they not know who the architect is. I would hope that there would be a kind of ease, serenity, comfort. I would love it if they began to notice and realize there's a lot more there than what they can see. I'm sure you've seen films or read books and you want to see it again, or you want to read it again, or you want to hear it again. You know there's more there, you've just seen parts of it.